Let me do this. I'm going to talk to you about karma and dharma and how they fit into the world of thought in the Indian tradition. India has given rise to Hinduism, however you may define that, Buddhism, Jainism, Sikhism. Those are the four indigenous traditions that have survived into the modern era. Sikhs, as you may know, are the fellows who wear the turbans. They have top knots and they all have a steel bangle and carry knives and so on. They're highly visible. There are very many more Christians in India than there are Sikhs. There are Muslims in India in significant numbers. About 16% of the population of 1.1 billion are Muslims. It's a very pluralistic religious environment. And if any of you are Sikhs or are Muslims, you're going to have to just bear with me for a moment. All of these traditions, including the Christian tradition, are shaped by these notions of karma and dharma. Now, karma, which is K-A-R-M-A, you know the word, is a Sanskrit word that simply means action. And dharma, D-H-A-R-M-A, is a Sanskrit word that's very difficult to translate. It is the word that is used in contemporary Indian languages for religion, but it's really quite misleading to translate dharma as religion. Dharma means something like one's duty to fulfill your share of the world's obligations. Not a handy or mellifluous poetic definition. Every single one of us in this traditional Indian view has a set of obligations that are determined by our status, our age, our gender, and most importantly in the Indian context, the family into which we have been born. Now, these notions of karma and dharma are very closely associated with the Hindu tradition. In fact, if you stopped anybody on the street in India and said, are these Hindu ideas or are they Christian ideas or whatever, everybody just laugh at you and say they're Hindu ideas. But they're so predominant, they're so much a part of the fabric of thought in India that everyone has, if not appropriated them, at least adopted them. And it's the overarching sense that every action that we engage in, and by that I mean every single action, has a moral dimension to it. There's a right way and a wrong way to do everything. But what's the right way for me to do something isn't necessarily the right way for you to do something, because we're different people. I'm older, you're a student, I'm a teacher, I'm of such and such socioeconomic class, you're of a different socioeconomic class, and your dharma is specific to you. And there's a very, very famous verse in the Bhagavad Gita that says, it is better to do one's own dharma badly than to do another person's dharma well. And this is where Judeo-Christian audiences begin to get a little uneasy. Because if you're born into a family of thieves, it's your dharma to be a thief. And you must be the best thief that you can possibly be. And there's a right way and a wrong way to be a thief under this worldview. Now, for most of us who are raised in a Judeo-Christian context, there's an absolute about morality and correctness and virtue and right and wrong, etc., that would make the notion of being a good thief versus a bad thief kind of peculiar. But in particularly the Hindu tradition, and by extension, I'll talk about that in a moment, for the rest of these traditions, this notion is so pervasive that to deny it would be a little bit like you and I denying the law of gravity. We could build worldview around it in theory that denies that there is such a thing as gravity. But for all of us in the experience of our lives, we'd be continuously running into evidence that there really is such a thing. Well, the notion of karma and dharma is as pervasive an idea in India. If you do something, there is going to be a consequence for that act. Could be good, could be bad, could be immediate, might be in your next lifetime, if you believe in reincarnation. But there is always a moral consequence to your action. And it's incumbent on you as a responsible citizen of the universe to know what your dharma is. If we all performed our dharma, fulfilled our obligations perfectly, the universe would suddenly take on a happy state that would be near perfection. It's unachievable. None of us ever fulfills our dharma perfectly. Some of us do a better job than others. And in those traditions that believe in reincarnation, that's what determines how you are reincarnated. So if you do your dharma perfectly or extremely well, you will be reborn into a quote-unquote better circumstance, a wealthier family or a better educated family, whatever. And if you do this for several hundred millions of rebirths, and you're continuously on this progress, you may ultimately achieve enlightenment, which is an outcome that ceases this round of rebirths. You escape this world of woes and you are liberated. And the terms for this are deliberately vague because all of the philosophers who talk about this say, well, we're going to tell you now about something that is ultimately indescribable. It's ineffable. It can't be talked about. So how the hell do you talk about something that can't be talked about? Well, that's the history of Indian philosophy for several centuries, is trying to do that. That's true on an individual basis. So we all have this dharma, and our actions, our karma, and they are, you will act, you have no choice but to act, will result in fulfillment or failure to fulfill that dharma, and we have a consequence. So there's an individual dimension to this moral dimension to the universe. But so is there a collective dimension to the moral dimension to the universe.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for your time. Thanks for your questions. Thanks. See you.